Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 449. Oh, that's almost a milestone, kinda. This is a DC Comics podcast. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's cracking?
Yes, no Connor this week. We're finally free of the putrid ginger.
That a-hole sabotaged my setup. I know it.
What? What's happened?
Last week when everything froze.
That's right. Yes. I think people enjoyed your texting in for the final minute of the show. For the record, if it happened in the middle, we would have waited till everything was fixed to finish do the rest of the show. But because it was only the last minute, it was like, this is funny to just wrap up and then
by the time I had relaunched the program, you guys were done.
Yep.
So because I tried to dial back and no one was there.
Where did everyone go? Oh no.
I was like, all right, that's fine.
Oh yes, this is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on today's show, we have Absolute Superman issue 5, Action Comics 1084, Green Lantern Corps issue 2, Batman and Robin 19, Aquaman number 3, and Batman Dark Patterns issue 4. I was going to do a Patreon book this week. I usually do on week 2, but I'll be doing that next week because I forgot that daylight savings kicked in the US, and we're doing this an hour earlier than I was expecting to be doing this show. So I had to rush and also cut things. So hey, but we're here, and it's all. Do you know what? Normally when this happens, because it always happens every time the clocks go forward or back in spring or autumn. There's always a week or two where the gap is shorter than it normally is, time zone wise, right? So US goes first in March, we go first in October, and as a result, there's always a little gap where the time difference is a little bit shorter. I don't know if I ever remember it being as much as 3 weeks, which is what it is this time. This is a very long period of the time difference being weird.
I'm thinking maybe early on when we were doing the show, like almost 12 years ago now.
Well, no, that show's not 12 years old.
No, but us doing our show. Because I remember when we were doing the movie show, there was quite a gap one time. But yeah, nothing like 3 weeks like this. So
yeah, that was weird. But hey, just something I have to try and keep and remember for the next couple of weeks. And I'm sure nothing bad will happen as a result of me forgetting. But yes, so no, the light enough week. Straightforward enough. We got some books to talk about. Also, I'm noticing Connor's favorite character is a little bit off position there. I'm just going to fix that on the video there. Audio listeners don't care about that, but that's okay. It was bothering me. So yes, welcome everyone. We'll get into the books and the usual shenanigans in a minute. But Matt, how was your week?
Not too bad. I realized at my decrepit age, I can still go to a hardcore show and hold my own. So,
Matt, you're going to have to say more than hardcore show to define what you went to, because it sounds like an orgy.
It kind of, not far off. No, I went and saw Comeback Kid and Big Ass Truck and Koyo. Those are all bands.
Yeah, I'll have to recognize a single name you just mentioned.
But yeah, and had a really good time. And I thought, man, as I'm approaching 40, I don't know if I could handle. All right. I don't know if I could handle. No, we had Amazon delivery and he had to throw it at the door, making the dogs go nuts. Anyways, I didn't think I could handle myself with all the moshers and whatnot. Turns out, old man still got it. So I got kicked in the face by a crowd surfer, almost lost my glasses, but that was a near miss.
So these aren't old bands where it's a bunch of people your age going. These are younger bands where you're the old man there. Is that what you're saying to me?
I think so. Comeback Kid are definitely around my age. They've been around for a minute because this was 20 years of one of their albums, which is what the tour is about. But yeah, the rest of the bands that were opening are pretty young.
All right. So this was a How Do You Do, Fellow Zoomers style of evening for you.
Yes. Oh, and Big Ass Truck is it's totally a bit band. I found them on social media, and yeah, very, very fun times. Check them out, people. It's good. But yeah, they're fully committed to a bit, and that's all about big ass trucks. And one song is just Smokey and the Bandit, but done in a hardcore metal vibe. So it's a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun on that one. Met that lead singer, super nice dude. So yeah.
All right. I don't really have anything to follow that up with. Week was a little bit busy, I guess. But that was it. The one notable thing is I rewatched, right, after having not seen it in like 20 years. I rewatched the movie that, like, I don't remember really liking that much, but it's kind of one of these movies that's in, like, you know, it gets referenced by our age group a lot. It's kind of a pop culture thing, and it's sort of seen as being this good sort of kind of classic. So I rewatched Point Break to try and just, you know, see if I felt any differently, see if I've maybe, you know, if I was harsh on it from memory. And I will say this, every single scene that Gary Busey's in is gold, right? I was constantly laughing at him being the veteran FBI agent with the, pardon me, with the advice.
The spirit of Gary Busey is trying to work through you now.
No, because there's a moment early on where they're talking about these bank robberies, and then Gary Busey takes Keanu Reeves aside and is like, "I've got a theory. They're surfers." And the way Gary Busey delivers that line, I'm like, okay, I want the buddy cop movie where it's just him hanging out with Busey the entire time. But the second it gets to actually doing the undercover stuff and like hearing Patrick Swayze talk about feeling the flow of the waves and all that, I am so bored out of my goddamn mind.
Loves Busey, hates Bodie.
Yeah. I don't think Patrick Swayze's that good. I think Roadhouse is overrated. Now, admittedly, I don't think Dirty Dancing was ever going to be a big hit for me, but I didn't think he was that good in that either. I don't know. I think Patrick Swayze was kind of overrated.
What about Ghost? You a fan of Ghost?
I mean, I saw it when I was a kid. I couldn't remember it enough to give a proper opinion, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm trying to think of other Swayze movies that I've seen that. So I've seen all of those. Granted, it's been a while since I've seen Ghost. But yeah, Point Break, it's one of those type of movies that I'm there for Keanu. And then, like you said, Busey.
To be fair, though, like, there's a reason why people used to make fun of Keanu Reeves' acting, and I think almost all of it's from Point Break, because this is easily the worst he is in, like, any movie I've seen him in.
Point Break, so the early 90s stretch, right, from like 90 to 96, where he had done like Point Break, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Only that too. But he was fine in Speed. Yeah. Speed was 94. He's completely fine. Okay. I mean, it's not a big Oscar-winning role or anything, but he's fine. He works.
Yeah. I'm trying to think some of the other serious movies he did that he was just kind of not the right person for that role, you know? Yeah,
I am an FBI agent. The way he delivers some of those lines is just...
And who's the director of Point Break? Remind me.
It's Catherine Bigelow.
Oh, that's right.
Who is good. So, Near Dark's fantastic. Like, Catherine Bigelow's got some juice in her, but I really not Point Break. What is funny though is because I'm a big fan of Hot Fuzz. Obviously, Hot Fuzz references Point Break in a few obvious ways, but there's a line early on in Point Break that I didn't realize Hot Fuzz was referencing at one point. So I recognized the line. I can't remember what it is now, but I remember someone said something. I went, "Oh, they say that in Hot Fuzz. That was clearly a reference."
Yeah.
So that was.
Did you ever see the remake?
No.
It's not good. I have shut off. I don't shut off movies. Usually I'll just let them run and do whatever. It was just not like, it was trying too hard to be serious, and I feel like that's kind of the charm with Point Break, is that it's very campy, especially looking back on it with these eyes.
That was definitely when I was having the most fun with it, was when it was being kind of stupid, and I could enjoy that. But when it was doing what I will say is all the elements that Fast and the Furious copied with this movie, I was pretty bored by those elements. So I don't quite get the mystique of Point Break. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. It's been forever since I've seen it, but I do know it was on TV a lot when I was growing up, you know, cable movie classic type thing. So there are parts that I've seen multiple times. So like the skydiving sequence, that's always fun to watch. You don't think so?
I don't know. It's fine, I guess. Yeah, go watch Drop Zone. Got a lot of skydiving in that.
Yes, still saved on my queue. I gotta get to that one.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it. I mean, I watched a lot of movies this past couple of weeks, but it was all for shows and stuff. That was like the one random thing I watched just for reasons. Cause I've been playing a lot of video games. You see, I know you don't care about that, but that's
not really
what I've been doing. So. All right. We'll get into business. We'll start off with the Kindle rankings, formerly known, of course, as the ComiXology Top 10, RIP, yada yada, all that stuff. But yes, what was your guess for number one as of right now on the Kindle US rankings for Wednesday?
I'm gonna absolutely say Absolute Superman.
That's correct. So, way to kill all the drama.
Yeah. But number two, I'm gonna guess it's X-Men 13.
Actually, it's Transformers.
Ooh, all right, Daniel Warren Johnson. Good on you, bud.
Yeah, number 3 is X-Men. Number 4 is X Factor. Number 5 is Green Lantern Corps. Number 6 is Amazing Spider-Man. 7 is Phoenix. 8 is DC vs. Vampires World War V. 9 is Aquaman, and 10 is Action Comics. So there wasn't a ton of DC books this week, so you're getting 5 actually in the end. I mean, it was the last 3 spots for 3 of them, but still, that's not too bad. Batman and Robin came in at 15, just to say where that popped up, and Dark Patterns was at 17, so they aren't too low down either versus the rest. So I don't know.
Because
how do you go?
I really enjoy this Batman and Robin run by Johnson. Yeah. More people should be reading it, so pick it up, people.
Yeah, it feels like action slipped a little bit, but maybe it'll bounce back up with the next team, and if not, then Wade's taking over the book ongoing later in the year, so maybe it'll bounce back up then, because Wade seems to sell well, at least on Kindle. So very good. There you go. That'll do that, and then we will get into actually, we have one little bit of news before we get into the books. It's not much. It's just a quick thing. It's not a surprise because they've been doing this every year for a good while now. But they did announce the DC Pride one shot, the big anthology book they always do every June, and they announced the creators that are on the stories. So I'll just quickly run down these. So this is out on June 4th. Here's the creators that are here. We got a Joe Mullen story by Vita Yalea.
Okay.
We've got Maya Houston and Vincent Cecil on a story. There is a new character by Julie Ellison S. Doyle. Josh Trujillo and A.L. Kaplan are on a story. There's a Connor Hawke story by Sam Maggs and Philip Sevi, maybe. We got Josh Trujillo and Don Aguilo. We have a Harley Quinn story by Maya Houston and Max Sarin. We have a Blue Snowman story by Jude Ellison S. Doyle and Alex Moore. Oh, Joe, I paused because I thought in my head I was like, did I just say Alan Moore? No, I didn't. I said Alex Moore.
Alex.
Just double checking. There's a Montoya story by Vita Yalea and Skylar Partridge, and there's a Midnighter and Apollo story by Sam Maggs and Derek Charms. So, yeah, I mean, none of this is surprising. They've been doing this every year. This one's been more consistent than the other sort of like holiday themed anthologies, but I think this and the Black History anthology book they always do in February, I think have been pretty consistent now for years. So yeah, cool.
The only there's 2 characters. Oh, new character right there. There's one character, Blue Snowman. I've never heard of that character. So
yeah, that's
interesting.
I just said it with confidence and just pretended like I knew what it was, because I have no idea who Blue Snowman is. Yeah,
but all the rest of them are pretty, in deep to DC right now, which is good. They're not just popping up for this anthology. But yeah.
Yeah, is Connor Hawke still in Green Arrow? Is that still a thing that's happening?
I think so. I don't read Green Arrow anymore, so I'm not sure. But he was. He's featured pretty heavily, in there. I wouldn't see him not, just disappearing. Granted, I don't think the first story's over. Maybe I'll catch up. I don't know. We'll see.
Everything you quit, a few weeks later, you're like, maybe I'll catch up.
The problem with the Green Arrow was I think it was a loaded week, so we'll see how things shuffle out because books are ending, this, that, and the other. I make no promises. Like I haven't gone back to Flash, no matter what. So we're good there.
Yet.
I'm not going to, unless a creative change happens. Then we'll look it back up.
They'll put in a character you can't resist, and you'll be like, shit, I need to catch up now.
But nobody short of Starfire could make me check out Flash. All right.
King Kong.
You know what? That's not fair.
And he's been in a DC book already, so it's not
I know.
out of the realm of possibility.
I know.
That'd just keep me away, of course, though. That big dumb ape. I don't need more of him in my life. Thank you very
How dare
much.
you, sir? He's a hero. Okay. It's a hero we deserve in this moment right now.
No, he's not. He's a big furry Weinstein.
Yes. Sir. Sir.
Have you watched that original movie? He just wants to molest blonde women. That's all he's doing.
Okay, well, we're not using that. We're using Kong Skull Island as the origin, okay? We're not... All right? He never climbed the Empire State Building, okay? I mean, Weinstein was kind of a furry Weinstein, too, so...
Yeah, but not, like, ape furry.
Maybe, I don't know. Let me tell you, I trust a gorilla more than I would trust Weinstein. I'll tell you that much.
Wait. Sure, yeah, I can't argue with that.
Look, gorillas, despite their overpowering nature, they are quite gentle giants. All right? So, let me just say, I would feel much more comfortable around a gorilla than a sexual predator.
I'm glad we clarified that for the audience. All right, let's get into the book, shall we? Absolute Superbad, issue 5. Jason Aaron writing with Rafa Sandoval on the art. So we get a little bit more of the destruction of Krypton and what happens in that. Now, it still doesn't quite answer, did anyone else make it? It very intentionally leaves it ambiguous at the end where lots of Kal-El family members might be alive. It's unknown.
Yeah, it leaves it open for a Kryptonian diaspora, which I kind of like, right? Because as this book goes, it would make sense if there were other Kryptonians that show up, right? And how their journey would be different than Cal's and what they had gone through. Because if you notice, there's a little blonde girl that hugs him.
I did notice that. You didn't think I noticed the possible Kara character?
And even if it's not Kara as we know her, a Kara-like character showing up, I think is in the cards. I really like this tweak to the origin. And
it could mirror the regular universe in that she's the only one who shows up out of all those characters. But it's also possible that all the family members went to different worlds even. Because so what happens is when they leave at the end of the issue, and there's like multiple flashbacks throughout the issue of like the final days of Krypton, and basically showing that because the L's exposed to the world what's going on and the corruption and the fact that the elite and the 1%ers are already building ships to leave, it's basically caused mass riots, right? And we see the security forces out, the SWAT teams, notably all with Zod symbols on their shields.
Yep.
But we see that, and Clark sort of narrates a lot of this and talks about how he didn't really know what was worse, like what was happening to the planet or just how much everyone turned on each other in the panic in the final days and all that stuff. So that really paints a picture. But when you get to the end and they're leaving off and the ship, they sort of like, because they've kind of sold it to us that, oh, this ship can only take our family, it can't take anyone else. And we always read that as, oh, the two parents, Cal, maybe the dog, right? That's pretty much it. And there's that moment where it reveals the entire family behind them, and there's like all these uncles and aunties and cousins and the entire swath of L's.
Yeah, and Laura and Jor are both like, I wish we could take more. Because Laura's like, well, what about the old man down the street that always checks in on us? And it really painted a tragic picture, right? That it's almost like Jor and Laura cared too much. They had so much love in their heart for the planet and for the people. And you can kind of see where Clark is shaped from there. Because I feel like by the end of the issue, that's Clark's main thing is that he cares a whole lot about things.
Yeah, I mean, even just Clark wanting that one last look at the planet, and he almost gets, sort of dies because he spends too much time, being sentimental, as he's supposed to be believing, and Crypto ends up saving him. But when they all leave off, because the planet's this AI that can kind of form and gives them spacesuits, after this moment of tranquility where he's hugging his little cousin, seemingly, and they get hit with one of the parts of Krypton, and the ship breaks up, you're like, oh no, tragedy. But basically what happens is the ship that's sort of bonded to all of them forms little individual ships around each person who survived the impact. So we see that the parents are on their own little ship over somewhere else, and there's other little ships. We see like a whole little, like maybe half dozen of them flying around. So maybe some of the family died in the impact, we don't really know. But some did survive, including the parents. But once there's some more chaos, there's some more explosions, and the planet blows up behind them, the final moments of these flashbacks is young Clark saying, "Mom, Dad, where are you?" Like, so at the very least, he's been separated from them. And maybe from here, he does kind of go on a similar journey of coming to Earth on his own. And obviously, he'll be older. It'll be different in that sense. But maybe he does come to Earth by himself from this point forward. So, but again, it very much leaves the possibility open that his parents are still alive in another little ship and maybe went somewhere else. Yeah,
the hope is alive. Also, it seems like Soul is that ship, right? Is the piece of that ship.
Yes.
Because the way that he interacts with it when he's a kid there, as it forms around him, it has that same kind of red streaky glow to everything. Which would explain that, he carries his home with him now, right? Like, it's the cape, it's all the other things that we've seen him do. It's that piece that ties him back to Krypton.
Yeah, the red mist is the same tech as the ship. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty clear, I think. And then the present day stuff is that Superman is hunting down Christopher Smith, Peacemaker, for murdering that village. And he's just tearing through like the base. I think it's in Pakistan, this Peacemaker base is. And he's just trying to demand where he is. He's looking for him. And Saul actually kind of like says, hey, something called Brainiac is trying to like hack into my system. And now it's like making us an offer. So it kind of leads to this thing where it's like, okay, Brainiac like has all these bottled worlds and it wants to talk to you. So it's like, okay, we're going to fly off and do that. But when Clark kind of like calms down, he kind of admits that he doesn't want to find Christopher Smith anymore because he's scared of what he'll do if he does get a hold of him, that he might kill him. So we get this great couple of panels of him, and it's all very in silhouette as the red mist cape is kind of flowing, and he's got the red eyes, and it's like he's trying to contain his anger. And the cliffhanger of the issue is that to calm down and try and sort of recenter himself because he realizes he's getting this passion to kill someone. The final page is him saying he's going home and he's walking into Smallville. Now, this is interesting because we don't really know what his Smallville life is like in this version of the story. Because, I mean, yeah, there was that tease of the old, Martha Kent or whoever in the hospital bed from that one issue, but we don't really know, like, what his home life was like. Did he have both Kents? How did they raise him? It must have been different because he was already like 12 or whatever he was. The whole thing. So as far as like teasing like the next part of the discovery of what's going on, this is quite nice. Also, I do wonder, just going back to the Brainiac thing for a second, is one of those bottled cities a Kryptonian city? Is that a thing here? It might be, it might not be, I don't know.
Yeah, because we don't know what Brainiac's full origin is, but the fact that Soul's like, he has bottled cities and I can hear them all screaming.
Yeah, that was a good line actually. That was like really like horror movie, like like horror, like just terrific terror. I suppose I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's making Brainiac feel like a threat, and it's not just like an alien threat. Like it's almost like this quest for knowledge and how it can, how it can corrupt and change you and turn you into a monster. Which I always like that version of Brainiac, right? But yeah, also curious too, which is a little thing that the motto under Smallville says "Ad Astra per Aspera." That's actually the state motto of Kansas, which I never knew, and it means "to the stars through difficulties." Which again, I don't know if that informed the Superman creators, right, when they did the Kansas stuff, to make Smallville be in Kansas, right? But it definitely fits the theme here, so I'm glad that Aaron put that in.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, if I was to guess, I would say Kansas was just the Midwest type of setting they wanted for Clark's upbringing would be my guess when that choice was
Right, but
made.
it being the state motto as well, like what a coincidence. Like how does that work out that perfectly?
I mean, maybe that's because I'm not American, but how many people know the
Mm-hmm.
state mottos? Because you didn't.
Well, no, not of certain states, but I know Nevada's, right? We're battle board. Like it's on our flag, and this is on the Kansas flag too. So,
Hmm.
it's a thing. And Jason Aaron is, he lives in Kansas City, but Missouri. So it's right next door, so I'm sure he saw that and went, oh, this is great. Especially with what the issue that we just read was, right? That was his actual origin, right? Up to the stars through, persevering through all the hardship and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, just really, really solid storytelling.
Oh yeah, this was not like an easy trip up into space, was it? Every part of this, like the saying
Mm-hmm.
goodbye to the planet, the danger,
Mm-hmm.
the almost dying, and then all of the actual like chaos in the sky as they were leaving the planet, which separated
Mm-hmm.
them from everyone. And obviously, this is where all the art gets to shine, and you've got the red of the ships because
Mm-hmm.
all the tech is red, like the red mist cape, and then you've got all the green of the explosions and the rocks flying at them. So there's a lot of nice, contrast
Mm-hmm.
between the red and the green constantly throughout those pages.
Yeah, and kryptonite or whatever we're calling this green mist stuff, right? It's never looked more dangerous and toxic. Like you just get bad. Like don't let that stuff touch you.
I mean,
Um,
I guess it effectively is kryptonite in a sense
mhm.
because this version is really trying to input this idea that the planet was sick and it was like it started having these symptoms of like this noxious stuff and
Mhm.
whatnot. And it's hard not to think that all of this is basically, even if we never use that word, it's basically
Mhm.
this story's version of kryptonite is all this stuff that the planet was producing in its dying days.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we're probably going to see someone get a hold of some of it to use against Superman at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing that I've always liked in the Superman mythos is like the kryptonite came with Clark because of the explosion, right? So when his ship crash landed, it was in that meteor storm. And multiple different origins have done that. So I would not be surprised if Brainiac has some of this somewhere at this point.
Mm. Yeah, especially if he's still collecting civilizations
Mm-hmm.
and stuff and is
Mm-hmm.
still fascinated about just all these different cultures and preserving them in some small caged
Mm-hmm.
way. Yeah, no, still really having a good time with this. The discovery of like how things went down differently has been, I think, really
Mm-hmm.
exciting in this book.
Yeah.
And I've been liking how it's been spread out over this first arc. So, and going to Smallville, for issue
Mm-hmm.
6 does seem like the right way to sort of cap all this off. And
Yeah.
it's the final piece of the puzzle of like what makes his origin here so different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I expect when we get flashbacks next issue, if we do get flashbacks, it'll be the start of his Smallville journey.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, the if Lana Lang and those type of figures from his early history
Maybe
pop in.
I wouldn't be surprised though if we don't get to them in this next issue, but they are
Mm-hmm.
explored later down the line in more flashback, just because
Yeah.
it's maybe a lot to get to. But I mean, it very
Yeah.
well might be. So oh, very good. What are you giving
Mm-hmm.
Absolute Superman?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I find it hard to argue with that. I think the art's really good. I think all the stuff with them leaving Krypton was super exciting. I think that moment where they say, "Oh, I wish we could bring more people," and you think it's only just going to be the three of them, and then you see that
Mm-hmm.
panel where the entire family's behind them, and it's like, "Oh shit, there's like 30 of them." This
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit different than what we expected. I thought that was a nice little
Yeah.
reveal. So, yeah, there you go, cool. So next up, Action Comics 1084, John Ridley writing with Inaki Miranda on the art. So this has been kind of a mixed bag of a little arc here, because there's parts of it that I've really liked, and I said this a lot in the second part of it, which
Mm-hmm.
was just this idea that I love this idea of stealing hope from these villains that were actually trying to make amends for what they were doing, but the hope that was robbed from them has kind of made them go back the way they were. I really liked that exploration, but once it got to like who was behind it and these villains showing up and all that, it was like, oh, this is just kind of uninteresting now.
Uh,
And yeah, like it's kind of flipped in this issue because the first half of this issue is all this stuff that I don't like,
mm-hmm.
And then the second half kind of gets into some interesting stuff again with the characters.
Yeah, you can tell the stuff that John Ridley was really interested in exploring, you know? And what does it mean to lose hope and to be restored by hope and all that? But we also have to have Superman fight alien bad guys.
Yeah, the alien bad guys here did nothing for me.
They suck. That said, I get what Ridley was saying, because they're called the Forever, and they're essentially like super rich galaxy people that are just exploiting, they're hope.
But it's so on the nose though, because at one point we deserve to live forever because we can afford to live forever. I'm like, okay, like, all right, thanks for spelling it out to me.
Enjoy your portal to hell. The
only time I really perked up during this whole fight scene, and they reveal that the aliens have got the powers of the people whose blood they were taking as well, which is like a minor plot detail, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. But the one thing I liked is when Scorch, is that her name?
Yep.
Yeah. Scorch like has to stand up against Mannheim. And I thought, oh, maybe if he'd built this particular part up a little bit more, where she's inspired to do the right thing because of Superman, this could have really landed as a moment. But because like her part of this has been kind of like where it kind of started to feel really rushed, I didn't get as much out of it as I wanted to. Even though I think, and on paper, I can see why this could be a great moment. But it was the only time I kind of perked up a little bit, was her sort of deciding to try and help Superman. But other than that, I will say, Tim's art at times, there's moments where like Superman's mouth just looks far too like close to his nose, and it gives him this really weird kind of puckered look that I just don't like very much. So yeah, I mean the layouts are fine. I think the layouts, because like I say, that moment with Scorch deciding to try and help Superman, it's all these little panels at the bottom. I do think that builds up quite well, which is why I started to care a little bit about it. But generally speaking, I wouldn't say the art is working for me that well here.
No, Tim's is much better doing the action breakdown type stuff, right? So when there is action, when you turn the page and she has, Scorch has all the portals open, and Superman is dealing with all these alien villains, and you see them all go in to the portals. You can follow that one page and all the smaller panels that are within it, right? And follow Superman as he goes across. I think that stuff looks really good. But you're right, the standing around talking, which there's a lot of, especially by the end,
but
a little bit rougher.
That's the funny thing, though, is the standing around talking is the better part story-wise. It's the more interesting character stuff. The art's better in the action, but the action I don't care about, because the villains suck, and I don't care about... Do you know what the so frustrating part is that after all the action's over, and Scorch is like, hey, you deserve to know the truth, and they go to Canada to talk to Major Disaster's daughter, Penny, right? This stuff is actually quite good from like a character perspective, but it kind of frustrated me because I realized that you could have had this exact story, which was so in the first part of the arc, Major Disaster has caused this big problem at a bank whilst robbing it. Superman shows up and he's like, why did you do this? Why have you like turned back to the dark side? Blah blah blah. Why have you given up on being good? He questions him in the prison cell, or as Clark Kent. It doesn't come out feeling great. I think you could go straight to Superman finding the daughter and just have it end the story there, and it would be the complete, all the good stuff from this arc would pretty much still be in there, and it would be just a good one shot. But we have to do this story about villains stealing. I mean, I like part of that because I like the whole thing with Atomic Skull, but I do think you could play with the villains stealing the hope, but you don't have to get into Bruno Mannheim and the aliens and the whatever, because I feel like
it's a metaphor.
Because I feel like the story we get from the daughter here is that basically Major Disaster was a shitty dad, and even when he was a good guy, he was still kind of a shitty dad because it was still an excuse for him to not like be there and be a father, right? And basically, it turns out that he intentionally did that bank robbery and got himself caught so that people would assume that he killed this guy, right? Because the daughter got mad and didn't intentionally kill him, but her powers, which are the same as her father's, kind of erupted, and it killed the guy that was buying the blood off of him, right? And he was like, oh, I can't let my daughter go down for this, so I'm going to go and be a villain so that it looks like I did this, because it will look like my powers, and I'll do the time so that my daughter's free. And it's like the one big thing as a father that he's ever done. And it puts Superman in this weird place where, as Superman himself puts it, well, there's truth here, but it's not necessarily justice. But if I do the justice, then arguably, like, you know, you're like, you know, there's this is a more shades of gray scenario for him to deal with than it normally would be. And I think this motivation, like, for like, why did Major Disaster do something bad? You don't need the whole stealing the hope plot for this to work. The daughter, like, accidentally killing someone and him wanting to take the fall for it because she didn't mean to do it is enough of a motivation, which is why I almost think that if you take out all the villain stuff and just have this be a one-shot where this is the ending, I think it would work. It would work as a nice little one-shot, and it would still give Superman this weird quandary at the end where he doesn't know, you know, do I tell the truth? Do I expose this and get the daughter arrested? Like, what good will that necessarily do? And he has like a debate with Lois, and Ridley does a smart thing here where he doesn't have them actually answer it. He kind of leaves it open as to what Superman's about to go and do. They just kind of leave it with Lois saying, well, I suspect you're going to need some, you know, comfort when you get back. But it never actually says one way or the other what decision he's going to make. It leaves it completely open for the reader to decide. So I do like that. But unfortunately, this arc also had to have rich aliens who were paying to steal blood from supervillains.
Yeah, I do like the line from Lois where she, you know, or it might have been from Superman, but it's in their conversation where they go, you know, it's truth and justice, not truth or justice, right? Those are not mutually exclusive.
Who said that, yeah.
So I do like that because it adds to his hesitancy, right? Because this is what he's about, is he's about what's doing what's right, but, you know, what is right here? And I do like that Ridley doesn't answer it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the point, is that not everything is black and white, and there's definitely sometimes where shades of grey, and sticking to the exact letter of the law that you've imposed on yourself might actually lead to causing more harm, potentially, in certain scenarios. And it's why you have to make decisions. It's why you have to have a bit of empathy and think about it rather than just doing something. So like, frustrating, because there's really good things in here. And this goes for the entire 3-part arc. There's good elements, there's good things that are going on here. It did kind of help, like, retcon a good reason why Atomic Skull went villainous again, because that annoyed me when that happened. So I appreciate that, at least, I guess. But definitely not like an arc I'd be like recommending to run out and read, just because I do think it's such a mixed bag. And the art is, you know, not bad per se, but definitely a lot of the times, like, the faces are really not to my taste.
Did we say the artist was Tim's?
I think I said that. Yeah. Is it not?
Okay, it's Inaki Miranda.
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping ahead to Aquaman. Sorry, it's Inaki Miranda. I apologize.
But they are very similar, so that's why I was like, wait a minute, that's not Tim's. That's Miranda.
Like, I'll be honest, you may be hearing some of the same complaints when we get to Aquaman. That's that's kind of why that happened there. I do apologize, everyone, but my complaints still stand for Inaki Miranda's art here.
Yeah, they are very similar, though. You know, so I would understand, especially on a week where the other book is also out.
Yeah, they're both this week. Yeah. So. Yeah, real mixed bag. I mean, I don't know. What's your overall feelings?
Yeah, no, I agree. It is a mixed bag, and I feel like this could have been a 1 or 2 issue, and it just drug out, you know, for whatever reason. But you can tell when John Ridley is interested in the questions, right? And like the whys of things, and less interested in Superman doing just superhero-y things.
Yeah, which is why it's a shame when it just devolves into punching big aliens through portals. And honestly, like, when I think back to like the cliffhanger for the first part was like Clark Kent being like attacked in the street, and I'm like, what did that have to do with anything at this point?
Nothing.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh well.
But
we rated Extra Comics back.
I'm gonna give this a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the flat 6, but I'm kind of in the similar wavelength. It's just frustrating. There's good things, there's bad things. Wish it was overall a bit better. So, Green Lantern Corps issue 2, legacy number 105. I forgot to check for the first issue, but this is 105.
Oh shoot! All right.
And for the record, before everyone goes double checks that, the first time there was a book called Green Lantern Corps, it was actually just the regular Green Lantern book that was renamed for a few issues. So that counts in the numbering of the regular Green Lantern book. The first Green Lantern Corps series that counts for this is the 2005-2006 series that started. So just to clear up any confusion.
I did not know any of that. That is wow.
Yeah, like issue 201 to like 230 or something of Green Lantern was called Green Lantern Corps, but it is literally just the same book as Green Lantern.
Right.
So,
crazy.
Anyway, so yeah, this is Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams writing with Fernando Pasarin on the art. So yeah, we were pleasantly surprised with issue 1 of this, and I think it's clear to say with this issue that the quality's still up. I still like this quite a bit. It didn't bring the Tamaranian character back, but we do have Hawkwoman here. We have Shiara, and they're off to Thanagar, or I should say, what remains of Thanagar.
Yeah, the ruins of Thanagar.
Yeah, so lots of planets being destroyed in DC Comics this week.
Yeah.
So and that's a great big full page spread early on in the issue when you see kind of like half the planet still kind of there, but the rest is all rubble. So it's a good visual. But it does some interesting things here. Where so there's a character on this little mission with them because they've got Kilowog with them as well, and they've also got Razor. Now, Razor has previously been both a red and a blue lantern, and that comes up. They talk to him about it a little bit, and it's also important because when they see a ship show up and they're up to something, whoever this is, it turns out to be a bunch of former Red Lanterns. Atrocitus is there with Dexstar, who's still talking. the cat is still talking.
I figured you'd pop big for Dexstar.
I always pop big for Dexstar. Yeah. I mean, I like Atrocitus as well, to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, just it's in your vibe, you know.
But I really, you know, I like okay, they notice them there, they spy on them a little bit, and it's this Razor who's like, hey, I know these guys. I don't know who the monkey is, but I know the other two. They were Red Lanterns because I was one. So I appreciated kind of like the investigation of this and John and Shiara like sneaking through the ship. There's a great moment where Dexter comes hopping down the corridor and they have to hide in a closet, and it's just this like silent few panels of them awkwardly being pressed together in a closet, and it's just the sexual tension is palpable.
Yes. We've seen it in every sitcom, right? The two characters have to hide and they end up face to face, and there's some very uncomfortable moments where they're staring into each other's eyes.
Do you know what it is though? I think because these two characters are so serious, typically, these are not. I mean, I'm not saying they never have a joke, but like they're not what I would consider the comic relief characters by any stretch.
No, not at all. They are. Yeah, they are this. Both of them are the straight men in any scenario.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like Cher is this tough, hard as nails. John's the engineer, military man. Like they're not jokey characters. So seeing them in this situation, like, actually felt like less funny and more like, I don't know, awkward, but in a good way, like a good awkward where you can feel their history kind of bubbling up.
And just the fact that they're hiding from this little kitty cat, too, because we know what the kitty cat's capable of. Like, I don't know what's going on with the Red Lanterns and all that type of stuff. Because as we see, Atrocitus can still tap into some of that. But yeah, like we know what Dexter can do. So
yeah, but do we know what Dexter can do without Red Lantern energy?
Yes.
Do we?
So, I just remember he had a very tough life, and that's why he was so angry.
Okay.
I remember that much.
He's got rage in him, which makes sense. It's a Red Lantern.
Yes. But yeah, I just remember he had a very tough life. I don't remember if he, but anyways, seeing Atrocitus later, still being able to tap into the red energy, it makes me curious of what has exactly happened with the Red Lanterns.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting, though, that a bunch of them are still together and just being now regular villains in space. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. Yeah, they're like space
pirates. Yeah, I like it.
Because they're here to steal nth metal. They're digging into the planet to try and get some nth metal. So that's what the other like lackeys are doing that Kilowog and Razor are following. And there's a really cool bit where they start like talking as if they're scared of Atrocitus, and then Razor starts saying there's no hope. And I noticed, oh wait, their speech bubbles are grey. All of a sudden, this is Sorrow. This is the Grey Lantern. And sure enough, he shows up, and it seems like this is tapping back into the main story in Green Lantern, presumably this nth metal, or the ending text made me think there's something inside the nth metal, because it said something about like what's in the shell or something like that.
It wouldn't surprise me if the nth metal has the ability to make the, the structure of the, to hold the energy. Yeah,
that's what I thought at first when he showed up, but the ending kind of implied to me that there was something inside it. Like there was, because it said something about what's inside the...
what lies within.
What lies within, that's what it was. Maybe
God, what
that's
if it's
referring to something else, but I just thought, oh, maybe it's like a big egg. There's something in
Yeah, I was
there.
gonna say it is Thanagar. They are the Hawk planet. Like, what if this is a gigantic egg with a baby Thanagar in it? I don't know. It's gonna be the home world of the emo lanterns.
I have no idea, but I do it. It was a nice surprise though. But at the same time, most people reading this should be reading Green Lantern as well, so it should work for most readers that Sorrow shows up. So I really appreciate that.
So when the Red Lanterns start talking about stuff, it just with Bleeze and then the other guy that I don't know his name, where she's just like, it doesn't matter, Atrocitus is just using us. I was like, oh, she's self-aware, because I wasn't really paying attention to the gray, right? And it doesn't really get to the emo lantern stuff until Razor, where he's like, nothing matters without hope or rage. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it clicked.
Well, yeah, because I think before that point, I mean, maybe I think you did hear a couple of speech bubbles from those characters, but because they're, they've not been around as prominently. The grey I was like, oh, their bubbles must be grey. But it's Razor's being grey where you go, wait a minute, his has changed.
And his feels much more with what we've heard from Nathan himself, right?
Yeah.
As Sorrow. So I did like that, it kind of washed over. So we got a pretty fun surprise when you turn the page and he's right there staring into the nth metal.
Yeah. So Atrocitus realizes there's intruders on the ship because there's like a reading or something. So they have like a red alert. And this is like proper Star Trek red alert, and that there's like a light going down the corridors that starts flashing red because of the red alert. That's a very Star Trek thing. So John and Shiara like rush in their search to see what's going on, and they discover that Zilius Zox. Now I'm not going to pretend that I remembered his name, but I remember who he is though, because like he's a very distinct look to him, right? He's the Red Lantern who I guess I'll compare him to MODOK from Marvel.
Yeah.
He's got that big face, kind of in like the encased in the red lantern helmet kind of thing.
And whatever he is, there was also a Green Lantern version of him that I remember getting sniped at the beginning of Sinestro Corps War, where he was just a big head, that gets taken out. So yeah, turning the page, I was like, oh, it's the big head guy.
It's the big head one, yeah, Zilius Zox. I'll never remember that, but that's his name. So they see him, and they basically realize that somehow he tapped into the Red Lantern energy, right? Without a ring. So he's actually got his Red Lantern outfit on. But he's all hooked up to the machine, and basically they talk about the fact that, well, other people who have like tapped into the Red Lantern energy, the rage, and we just saw this in Green Lantern issue 2, is that people who tap into it and don't know how to control it blow up. They literally just explode with the anger. And that was a great moment in Green Lantern when that happened. But they explain here that because they're using him to power the ship with Red Lantern energy, it's basically like siphoning it off of him so that he never gets to the point where he blows up. And I was like, oh, this is... They've put some thought into this where they set up all these rules about how this is working. And then they're like, here, this is why this guy's not blowing up, because they're actually using it... Like, the entire ship is being fueled with the rage of Zilius Zox.
Yeah. Well, and it also makes sense, too, that it's a former Red Lantern that would know. You know what I mean? Like the guy that we saw in Green Lantern was the blacksmith. He wasn't a proper Red Lantern. He just got filled with so much rage.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think the implication here isn't that Zilius Zox has decided to do this. I think the implication here is that Atrocitus has decided to do this with him, right? Like, I think Zilius Zox probably would just get angry until he explodes, except I think Atrocitus is smart and is also exploitive, and has realized that he can use this to funnel Red Lantern energy. And I actually wonder, like, if the fact that Atrocitus can make a construct a little bit later, when he makes like the hammer or whatever, if I was to guess, I would say that Red Lantern energy is like coming from Zilius Zox. Like, he's just taking it from him from the ship, rather than tapping into it on his own. So yeah, so I was just saying, Matt, since you were up, that I think Atrocitus making a construct is not him tapping into the Red Lantern energy on his own. I think he's just using what's coming from Zilius to do it. Because he isn't. Oh,
that makes sense.
Because he doesn't completely go all red, right, or get his outfit or anything like that. Right. He just has the hammer and the shield that he's using. Oh,
yeah, that makes sense. And it's coming from his chest. So it definitely looks like tech.
So I think Atrocitus is using Zilius as a big battery, effectively, to power the ship, but also his own red constructs. And
Yeah.
that seems to be what they're doing, but which is cool. I love all this. I love that we're seeing what some of these different Lantern characters are doing now that their rings have been taken away. It's actually kind of cool. So yeah, very good, very good. Meanwhile, Kilowog's fighting Sorrow, and
Yep.
the what's left of the planet's crumbling because Sorrow is flying away this big nth metal egg looking shape, and that's the end of the issue.
That is well, and I do like that Kilowog. So if you know about Kilowog's history, right, his whole planet got taken out, right? So he's someone that has felt sorrow, but he's overcome it. So when he tells Sorrow, he's like, I don't know about you, but this doesn't affect me. So like, let's do this. So I do like that. Kilowog was kind of the perfect person to counter him, and to make for a fun fight that gets interrupted by this gigantic egg.
Yeah, well, more specifically, it's interrupted by the fact that the egg coming through just sort of makes the rest of what's left of this half of the planet just start to crumble and fall apart. So there's a lot of dodging and diving and ducking and whatnot. Yeah, really good stuff so far. I think this is a very good complementary book, and I think it's doing good character stuff with John and Shiera, or Shaira, I should say, and it's adding to the plot that's going on in Green Lantern, but it's given us a good chance to sort of explore how this new status quo is affecting other Lantern characters and seeing Atrocitus and Dexter and just being like, okay, what are they all doing now? Without their red rings. I think that is genuinely quite fascinating right now. So more of Green Lantern Corps exploring this sort of stuff would be good. I think so.
Yeah,
I'm very pleased. Sure. All right, we can rate it if you're ready to go.
Yeah. I always just wait for you to say because I don't want to stop on anything. Yeah, I'm gonna give this straight 8.
Yeah, I had a good time with this. I think it's an 8 as well. Yeah. I've been pleasantly surprised. Like, I was pleasantly surprised with the first issue, and I think I'm really happy to see that issue 2 kind of kept up the quality and makes me excited to. Like, I'm excited for 2 Green Lantern books right now, which I can't remember the last time I felt that way. So
yeah, because even when Humphreys was doing Green Lanterns, I don't think we were that big on the other one.
No, I dropped the other one quite early on.
Because that was Hal & Pals, right?
Yeah.
So that one went through some ups and downs for sure. So yeah, having 2 right now ongoing that I actively look forward to is great.
Which, just for the record, that's not what it was actually called, everyone, just in case you actually want to Google it. It's Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, which I guess you could argue should have included that in this numbering for the legacy numbering. It's a valid argument if you want to make it. I didn't, but, I took that as its own separate thing, but,
Yeah.
But hey. All right, Batman and Robin, issue 19, legacy number 85, Philip Kennedy Johnson writing, with Miguel Medonca and Javier Fernandez on the art. So yes, Memento and stuff, and Robin's going to retire as Robin soon, once they've caught Memento.
Because he wants to be more like his grandpa on his dad's side, Yeah,
that's what they've been setting up. So they've been teasing some of this. There's some interesting things going on here, for sure. You've got Robin kind of like going through the events that have happened and the fact that this Memento is sort of recreating things that happened in history, compares the fire to something, compares the Arkham breakout to something, and deduces that the next thing that might happen is something at the opera, although that turns out not to be the case, but his reasoning is sound. There's another sneeze.
Gesundheit.
And, some great 2-page layouts here as they're sort of jumping down and fighting things. The big thing for me here, though, is that Batman is still seeing these visions of dead people, I guess we'll call it.
He's tripping balls, man.
Yeah.
Like, Bruce is straight up not having a good time.
And he occasionally says something to them, and Robin's Damien's like picking up on it and saying, hey, you all right? Like, something's going on. Later when he's talking to Letroc on the phone, he's like, hey, like, Batman's still suffering the effects of whatever he breathed in at Arkham. Like, this is not good. So yeah, a lot of moody panels in the rain. A big part of this issue, though, is Oracle working with Batman to keep an eye on Damien when he's with Dr. Bashir, and just how uncomfortable that makes Barbara feel because she thinks it's overstepping a line and there's something not right about it. And she even questions Batman multiple times. look, are you sure that we should be spying on Damien? This is not going to win over his trust. And even suggests that, you may be wrong about this doctor guy. Like, yes, technically I found a very tenuous link between him and the League of Assassins, in that a group that funded him once had ties to the League. But, like, Ra's al Ghul had ties to lots of things, like, and many people who were tied to him in that way would never even know about it. So you might just be paranoid here. But Batman's convinced that, the Doctor's corrupting him and trying to, like, win him over to the League. There's also some spooky stuff where Scarecrow's talking about Memento and, like, he's all creepy, he's huddled in a corner. Enough so that Letroc actually phones someone back in the UK and asked them to exhume the old professor, Atticus Bile, because, like, just make sure he's still dead. So she's even she's starting to wonder if, like, someone's still alive that's not meant to be alive.
Right, because one of the things that Bruce is muttering to himself, or not to himself, but the things that he is saying, it says the devil stole his, and then Bruce says, shut up, right? So I'm wondering what's going on here, because then you look at how it opens with where it looks like Memento is, I don't know who's in that prison, right? In like a cell?
It looks like a cell in Arkham, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, not obviously they're in Arkham Tower now, but, same
right,
idea.
But he says, is this him going, because that's not Scarecrow, is it?
No.
Is this him? Okay. Because he goes, please, he goes, I didn't think you were real. So there's a lot of myth making here with whatever Memento is, so her buying into that now too, it's really upping that.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure who that is in the cell in the opening scene.
I don't either. So, but it's adding, it's that thing where, him saying that I didn't think you were real, the whole legend of Memento, precedes, right? Was that say his reputation precedes him?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole so the whole thing comes to a head where Bruce tries to bond with Damien, and Damien still wants to go and help at the hospital, but he says, hey, why don't we set up that chessboard when you get home and we'll play a game? And Damien kind of warms up and says, yes, I'd like that. But Bruce has put a tracker on his shoe, which Oracle's chastising him for. But they're listening to the conversation, of course, until Damien finds the tracker when he's talking to Bashir. And it's worth mentioning, there is not a hint of anything from Bashir that there's anything wrong. He's just talking about his patients, about looking after them, and about knowing Thomas Wayne. It's all very nice, innocent stuff. And the big thing that happens is that we're in the elevator, the lights start going out, and it's clear that Memento is making his attack here. So when the elevator opens in the basement, Memento's standing there. It's all very bright and orange. The color really pops because it's been a while since we had that amount of colors. There's been a lot of just stuff out in the ambient rain, lots of light blues, that kind of thing. And when the doctor goes down because Memento hits him, Damien has a flashback to the girl that he failed to help back in the fire, and he charges at Memento. But when Batman is able to, like, get there, and there's a whole big action sequence here where Batman, like, launches himself out of the Batmobile and, like, grapples onto the Batwing or something, and, like, gets flown all the way to the hospital. It's
very cool.
Yeah, it's one of those big kind of action set piece moments. The art's getting a chance to just sort of flourish here. And Batman crashes through a window, finds Bashir lying on the floor, possibly dead. I don't know if it clarifies it one way or the other. But he sees the vision of Bashir saying, I've seen it, the devil wears Nicodemus Crow's face, Bruce, and now he's got your son as well. So I think the implication is that he's dead, because the way he's sort of like lying there between the elevator doors and the blood smeared, or arguably even the idea that if Batman's only seeing dead people with this, like, these visions, then that would maybe also suggest that he's dead.
Because that's why I think, well, but again, this Gravedigger's Poppy is just playing off of whatever Bruce thinks too, right? Like, it's not like it's a portal to another realm.
That's true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But this idea of this repeated phrase, he stole his face, it's like, okay, so it's not the real original Memento, it's someone who is, posing as Memento, except for the fact that Bruce also said that he recognized the voice, but again, was that only after he was intoxicated with the poppy?
Right?
Yeah, it's really, there's a lot of eerie stuff going on here with Memento, and the idea that Damien's now been taken, so now Bruce has to work to save his son, is makes a lot of sense thematically with all the tensions they've been having throughout the arc. So I am not mad at this progression. So yeah, this issue had a couple of really stylish set piece moments. Bruce making his way to the hospital was pretty good. Memento showing up was great. You also had just Batman and Robin fighting their way down whilst they were doing all the exposition at the start. But I think the core thing of Batman spying on Damien and Damien catching him and what tensions that might cause, because Batman may actually just be paranoid here. Like, he's not actually correct about this.
Well, no, but it was good that he did in hindsight, because that's where Memento was showing up.
Arguably,
right?
Yeah.
You know, so he could, it could be one of those things too, that it is his father's intuition. Like I wasn't going to let you go out there while this thing is, could attack anywhere in Gotham and not know where you were, So I just on a quick thing, Nicodemus Crow, right? That was the guy that ran the cult in Gotham. That when we first found out about the Gravedigger's Poppy.
Oh, do you think that maybe who the guy was at the start?
Maybe. But that was back in the day. So you got to remember, Memento has been going around for, in cycles, right?
Yeah.
So this was all those years ago. So when he says that he stole his face, I'm wondering if they're pointing to Bly. Like, this was a thing that Bly got a little bit too close to, right? And maybe it drove him mad. And that's why we're looking for his body now, right? Unless that's all just a red herring. But yeah, because that name, I was like, that name was familiar and I couldn't remember why. And so upon a quick search, that was in Batman and Robin 16. And that's where we first found out about the Gravedigger Poppy.
That was like the first issue of the arc, I think.
Was that?
Around then. Yeah, if not the first, maybe the second.
Yeah, but yeah, really good stuff. I love the tone of it. Like, it's Batman arguing with the hallucinations and stuff is such a, we're not used to seeing that type of stuff, because, every time he interacts with fear toxin, he knows about the fear toxin. He knows what the effects are.
Yeah, probably my favorite part actually is just before he launches out of the Batmobile, he starts seeing so many visions on the street as he's driving of people who are like screaming or in danger, and he even swerves to like miss like a woman holding a child, but they're one of the visions. Like, part of the reason why he decides to launch out of the Batmobile is just so that he can avoid all this stuff. But it really shows how bad it's getting, where there's that one panel of like it's like a POV shot of him looking out the front of the window, and it's just like, it looks like the entire city's on fire. Yeah.
It's straight. Yeah, it looks like straight chaos, But yeah, so I like seeing him struggle with this, because it adds different layers. Like, is he making the right decisions here? Is it just, has it totally affected him? And maybe had he listened to Damien from the start, things would maybe be going different. And that's kind of what Memento wants. It's keeping him off of his game.
Also, Damien and LaTroc still having a bit of a partnership is kind of fun, just to see him kind of form his own Gordon-esque relationship with someone. Yeah, so for sure. I enjoyed that.
Do you trust her? Do you trust LaTroc? Do you think like this is not just a whole red herring?
I don't suspect she's the bad guy as of yet. It wouldn't surprise me though if she's dead by the end of the arc, just because
of comics, right?
Comics, and she's a guest star, so they could easily kill her by the end.
Yeah, I'm not getting those vibes at all. I was in the beginning, right? But I think that's where we're being pulled along that. But the stuff with Damien and her talking and her wanting Bly's corpse exhumed, I feel like that, she's onto something here. So maybe that's why she dies, right? Because she's the one that figures everything out or whatever. But yeah, definitely don't suspect her as a part of this as we go. But just, man, I really love the dynamic here between Bruce and Damien still. Like, that's where Philip Kennedy Johnson has really made this book work. Like, the entire super awkward talk about chess and hanging out, like that awkwardness really comes through.
Yeah. No, it turned into a really solid book once he started writing it, for sure. All right. What are you giving Batman and Robin?
I'm going to give this a straight 8.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. I know I'm being boring and agreeing with a lot of your ratings, but like, honestly, I can't really think of a reason to go lower, and I would maybe go higher, but it's definitely like there's definitely bigger plot beats to play in this story that I think could hit even higher than this. So it feels like an 8 out of 10 for me as well. So cool. Aquaman issue 3, Jeremy Adams rating with John Timms on the art. Now, what the hell is this book, Matt? Because it feels like it's been written to try and turn me away at every possible stage.
And for me, I'm going like, oh, we're getting more water mythology? Let's go.
Now, I don't care about all this King Arthur bollocks that he's pulling on.
Now, do I pretend to know where it's going and how it gets back to the Omega Gate? And is that just a coincidence? Or what is going on? I don't know.
There's so much of this issue, which is the characters vaguely saying, oh, if you want to save Mira, your family in Atlantis, you'll have to, deal with these villains and stuff first. But I'm like, okay, but are we in a different Earth? Are we on a different planet? Are we, where are we? There's so many, vague parts of this right now for me.
So here's my take on this, right? So we've seen in Swamp Thing that Swamp Thing can go into the green, right?
Yes.
And in Animal Man, he was able to go into the red.
Right.
Arthur's definitely in this new aspect that Adams has thrown in here called the blue, which seems to be the nature of hope and water and what water represents, which I'm still not clear.
No. I definitely picked up on him setting up the blue as a counterpoint to the red and the green, and the idea that the blue is needed for all the other things to exist. That's all fine. That's a fine idea. I'm on board.
Right.
But is this inside the blue? I don't think it is, because they're literally going to other planets, or they're going up to the moon or whatever.
Right, and that's where I'm trying to remember how different artists have processed the green and the red, and to me it feels very similar. It feels very alien here. So it wouldn't surprise me if Arion and the Lady of the Lake and these other people are avatars of the blue in the way that Animal Man and Beast Boy are for the red, and then all the other, plant characters are over the years that we've gotten, Swamp Thing, Ivy, Woodrow, all that type of stuff. And these are, they're in there now, and they're trying to guard it from whatever Dagon is, right?
Dagon, and Dagon's not a word that's been made up for this, obviously. Dagon's like a classic mythology thing for it's water based. There's even a crappy horror movie called Dagon from 2001, which sucked. But it's not that I expect there to be explanations for everything yet. I totally get some things being a mystery. But at the very least, I don't even think it feels like the villain has even implied that they cared or took Atlantis. It would be very nice for at least to have some understanding that they did this. Because right now it feels like they could turn around and say at the end of this arc, oh, you've beat Dagon. But Dagon had nothing to do with why Atlantis disappeared.
No.
Because right now it doesn't feel like it's connected all that much to me.
No. It's definitely a hat on a hat type thing. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know where I think what's going on in the full story. I'm just getting the breadcrumbs of the pieces here. And I did get a little annoyed when the mermaids show up. All right, because that's a little bit, again, we're putting a hat on a hat here. We're doing a little too much.
Well, yeah, the tease early on that Dagon's got his Charlie's Angels of evil that he sends out to do his bidding. And it turns out one of them is that mermaid that used to date Superman, which they conveniently just reminded us existed in World's Finest over a few issues.
Yeah.
So, okay. I can't say I was that excited to see her in that book, and I'm not exactly thrilled about it in this book either. I love also that in this book, the Aquaman book, the only description they have for this character to make her relevant, the only notable thing about her is, oh, she dated Superman for a bit.
Oh, because that's what it is, right? She posed as a college student and dated Clark. That was it. She's in I don't even think she's in an arc's worth of stuff from the Silver Age. So, that was just, she was always a trivia thing.
Yeah, and maybe Adams here will do something and give her own identity, and she'll be a character in her own right by the time things are through. I mean, I did like the flashbacks. I will say that. I like the flashbacks to Arthur being a kid and helping his dad fix the lighthouse and feeling accomplished because they saved a boat from crashing on the rocks. That stuff is good. It's probably where I like the art the most. As much as I was comparing Tim's art to the Miranda art from before, I do think Tim's is the better of the two. As much as I think there's some similarities, I do think this is a bit better than that. But some of the stuff here just feels so like random to me. Like, you know, like when we get to the present day stuff, and Arthur like has climbed the ice, and he like comes up to the top of this like ice wall, and there's like a circle with like an altar in the middle for magic spells. I'm like, what is any of this? Like, it's just random fantasy bollocks.
Well, yeah, it's where the Lady of the Lake forged Excalibur, right?
Yeah, they build a weapon, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but I don't care about Lady of the Lake and Excalibur.
But I do, which frustrates me more.
So I felt very like I'm not dropping the book, because I do suspect that even if I don't really like most of this first arc, I suspect that I will enjoy what Adams does afterwards, as long as it doesn't just stay next to all this King Arthur bollocks for, you know, extended times. Because I don't hate the idea of the blue to go with the red and the green and the rot and all the rest of it. I think that's a fine idea to introduce that and say that water's this important thing that exists beyond just like its physical form. Sure, right? I'm on board. Them building him an Excalibur of sorts, and then Aquaman being taken by the evil mermaids to Dagon at the end. I like that stuff. I'm just kind of whatever on.
I just now realized that because I watched The Nice Guys again this last week.
Sure.
I love that movie, and I just realized where did Arthur go? It was like you got to question the mermaids. Like that just dawned on me right now.
Yeah, the final page is that apparently to go up to the little water moon that's in the sky, they've got this like almost just like magical river that's flowing up to it, because Dagon's stolen all the water for himself, you see, so he's got like a water planet or water moon up in the sky, and that's where they're going. Which, if I go back a few pages actually to when they showed up, like
they come through a lightning strike.
Yeah, it's like a portal almost, right?
So why are we on a ship?
Yeah, why do we have to go on a boat to go back up to the waterman? I mean,
it's a pretty metal looking ship. Like this looks like the stuff that Amon Amarth writes songs about.
Yeah, but I think that's my problem here is that I feel like a lot of this is just like, oh, this will be cool, and I love King Arthur, so we'll put King Arthur stuff in this.
Look, I've trusted Adams enough that I feel like this will come through. But at this point, I remember finishing reading this. It was like, what the hell just happened? Like, you know, like we got the blue that stuck out.
It just,
you know, but yes, I agree. It's very, very weird.
It needs something to ground it a little bit. And right now, I just don't feel like it has that. And I really hope that when we get to arc number 2, we establish things a bit better, or we become a bit more conventional, just so that there's actually just by default a bit more of a grounding. I don't know, but all of this, like we're in a different world and we're fighting Dagon. I mean, Dagon as a villain for Aquaman sounds fine on paper because it's a water-based villain, but all of this shit is just, I don't know. I was not feeling it.
Well, and also Arthur being worried that he's going to be a vessel for Darkseid because of the Omega Gates. Like, where's that coming from?
Well,
because they're talking about the Dark Tide and whatnot.
It referenced the Free Comic Book Day special from last year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or the All In special, whatever one it was.
Yeah, it was the All In. Yeah.
I don't know. But he does also say, or is the gate just a coincidence? And I'm like, well, if it is a coincidence, then that's annoying as a reader, because like.
Well, and then you look at the cover and it's got Arthur's eyes with red with the Omega Gate in them. And it definitely is frustrating as a reader because it feels like none of it matters.
Yeah, it feels like shoehorned in because they're maybe going to do something related to all that stuff later. But right now it doesn't really feel like it's actually relevant to anything that's going on. Like why was there a gate with an Omega symbol that led to the blue or whatever we are? That doesn't seem to have anything to do with what's going on with the dark side or the absolute universe. It's just all this own stuff. Like all of it just feels a little bit weird and disjointed, and I just like I'm looking forward to pivoting to a new arc, which is a horrible thing to say 3 issues into an arc that's probably going to be 6 issues long, but I'm looking forward to the second arc.
I just want to see what other water gods and goddesses and whatever show up, because it was kind of reminding me of the Kelly Sue version where We had Arthur coming to terms with the gods and living on that island where he had amnesia and whatnot. And I liked most of that. I think it was handled a lot.
Oh, that was
better.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what Jeremy Adams' spin on all that is, to where it goes, but it could definitely fall flat.
Because here's the thing. So we read him write Flash, and we're reading him write a lot of Green Lantern right now, and he's very good at that, right? I'm loving his Green Lantern. And I think part of what works about Green Lantern is he clearly loves a lot of that part of the universe where he knows a lot of the characters, he knows the history of all those characters, and he uses parts of it to play it and do interesting things with it, just like having Red Lanterns who are not Red Lanterns anymore, and what are they now? Really smart, fun ways of thinking, okay, what can I do with this? But here with Aquaman, it feels like he's throwing in all this King Arthur stuff, and as someone who does not care about that and doesn't really know it that well, I don't think he's doing a particularly good job of like making it accessible for anyone who doesn't happen to already care or know about it. So I think maybe that's where a fault lies here with Adams. I don't know if that's a fault he's always going to have, and it's just because everything else he's done is all stuff that's baked into just DC that I know about, so it's never an issue. But here with this, I'm feeling this kind of alienating, just kind of like, what is this? Why are we doing this? I don't know if you've justified any of this, but...
Yeah, they're definitely doing stuff with the gods too, because there's some mention here of like Poseidon and Athena and all that other stuff too. So I'm wondering if that's the tie ultimately.
Yeah.
Right, to the gods and the new gods and Arthur and whatever. However, I don't want to think that Adams is simply tying Arthur to King Arthur because of their similar names. Oh,
I hope not.
So hopefully there's a lot more going on there, and we'll get to there. But yeah, again, I trust him enough to see where this goes, but I am a little bit annoyed by it just because I don't know how this is all adding up. And again, why did they take the ship? Like, why couldn't they just go back through the way they came? They're mermaids,
Yeah, yeah. And the other characters, of course, like finish their weapon are like, wait, where did Aquaman go? Oh no! He's been taken. Rats.
Not again. That's their complete vibe, right? Oh no, not again.
All right. What are you rating Aquaman?
I'm gonna give this, and it's gonna seem high, but I'm gonna give this a 7.
Yeah, it does seem high. What are you talking about? 6 for me. Like, it's definitely like it looks solid enough. I like the flashback, so I like how he writes the dialogue for the most part and stuff like that. But I do not care for what the current direction is and what we're doing and how weird it is, and just like, I mean, you can do a story where Aquaman gets taken to somewhere else, and we can do a very unconventional Aquaman story. But I think you have to give me a little bit of a more solid mystery or concept as to like what it is. It just feels so disjointed and random right now. So, yeah. All right. Batman Dark Patterns issue 4. Dan Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So this is the start of a new arc, actually, because the first arc was just a 3-issue number. And then this one is called The Voice of the Tower. And it's Batman, but Dread, where he's in an apartment building. And it's like, so the book starts with a police officer has been thrown out of this apartment building to his death. And
hung up like a puppet from what Nightmare on Elm Street is that? Is that 3?
That's 3, yeah.
Okay, yeah. After being hung up like a marionette and then cut down.
Yeah, so he falls to his death, and it's like, okay, this apartment building's meant to be taken down, but some of the residents don't, like, a lot of them don't want to leave, but a few of them are dangerous, and they like, are now, like, they kidnapped 2 cops, they've killed one, and the other one might be alive still inside the building. And, Batman's like, okay, there's a window open on the 5th floor. I'm going to get in there. So he does. He does a whole jump and a grapple and gets in the building. And they do this whole thing where they treat this building like it's super dangerous. And there's a great 2-page layout where it's like really confusing and like disorientating. And the idea is that Batman's hearing some punks talk about the fact that they've kidnapped a cop and that she's up somewhere. But when Batman tries to like sort of jump out and scare them, it doesn't work because they're not there, and it turns out they're actually a floor above, and they yell down and say, hey, you don't know how this place works. And for a second I thought, wait, are they doing some weird supernatural like thing with this building? But it turns out like, one of the scared neighbors just kind of opens their door a little bit and tells Batman, "Oh, the acoustics of this place are really weird. Like it's hard to tell where sound's coming from." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it's not supernatural. It's just this idea that the sound's bouncing around and it makes it really difficult to get your bearings and know where things are coming from." And it's like, okay, and it's interesting for multiple reasons, which we'll get to. But yeah, so we introduced like one of the main villains here, who is this guy who lives here, some psychotic criminal who has the policewoman like strung up next to the window, and she's gagged, but she's also fallen asleep. But he starts complaining that she's making noises, and like the wife, I guess, is like, no, I think she's asleep, but I don't think you're hearing anything. And then he gets mad and is like, "Oh, you're calling me crazy, you're disrespecting me in my own house," and he goes to beat her up. But then the cronies come in and say, "Hey, Batman's here." And this is where it reveals that Scarface is sitting on the floor, right? And he's like, you know, I'm not happy, not one git. So we got this like running thing where he keeps saying G instead of B for a lot of his words. So Batman's looking around. He phones that like shady coroner to try and find out.
Yeah, the dude that's huffing formaldehyde.
Yeah, he's not exactly sober, but he's able to deduce, though. They can't really say exactly what floor that the cop fell out of, but they can say that it must have been above floor 5 because he seemed to bounce on impact, which would suggest a higher landing or higher.
I love the amount of human body research that Waters is doing, because between the pain guy, and knowing that if you're dropped out of 5, you know, there's not much different for terminal velocity on the human body, because
as he says, there's not much difference. I mean, assuming this is correct, I don't know if it is, but like the injuries in the human body from falling from 30 feet and from a plane are basically the same.
Same, right?
Yeah.
But how do you interact with the ground changes, and the cop bounced. And so there was a bunch of abrasions from that. So we can tell it was over 5 floors. And I was just like, Waters, I want to see your search history, bud.
so Batman's like, okay,
human body bounce.
I have to go up. I have to go up and find. And sure enough, like this guy standing with Scarface, and immediately Batman's like, Wesker. I always forget that Wesker's first name is Albert, which is really weird because the Resident Evil character is called Albert Wesker, and it always messes me up.
Holy crap! Do you think that influenced the game developers or no?
I mean, there's nothing like remotely comparable between them, so I don't think so. But it's just a weird coincidence. But anyway, so Batman's like, "Wait, you're not Wesker," and he just like crushes Scarface's head, just smashes it into the ground, and like holds the other guy up. And what I really liked about this, because obviously, like, okay, so normally you've got Wesker, it's actually him that's the villain, right? He's got a split personality. He speaks through the doll, and that's like the bad side. It's kind of like a Two-Face, but with like a bit of a gimmick to like have the other personality come out. And you still hear the voice, like the voice without a speech bubble, kind of like, you know, Gatman, you think you can stop me again by destroying my Gaudi? Right? And he's doing all this thing. And you sort of like realize that, oh, this is the other way that the acoustics of this building are coming into play, is that Scarface's voice is kind of bouncing around, like it's just coming away from, you know, wherever. And whoever really is voicing Scarface, and it could be Wesker, like Wesker could be in the building somewhere, but because the audio is bouncing around with the acoustics, and we start to see like people around the building are putting on Scarface masks. Basically, like Scarface is like enlisted a lot of the people who live in this building to become his soldiers. So we get like civilians from the building throwing couches and shooting down out at the police on the outside, and we see that Scarface has decided that he's got a new body. This building is his new body. And like the outside of the building has like a scar and 2 eyes like sort of drawn on the outside of it. So this building is the new Scarface, and all the people inside are all wearing these wooden Scarface masks.
And where the mouth of the building is, there's a couch sticking out like a cigar.
That's right, yeah. And there's 2 balconies that kind of make eyebrows.
Yeah. So wait, what is the significance of him swapping the G with a B? Or a B with the G?
It's not significant. I think they're just going for that like sort of old gangster speak kind of thing, where Yeah, it's just a quirk to sort of give him a distinct voice.
I mean, yeah, that's fine by me. Like I didn't know if there was a significance, because if I like any other Scarface story I've read, that's not a thing in Scarface's dialogue.
It's not surprised me, so I think I've at least seen it somewhere. But
Okay.
I mean, it's not an always thing by any means.
Yeah. This book, I know it's called Dark Patterns, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I feel like this is the Black Case book kind of vibe,
Sure.
like series that I kind of always wanted, because they're all these super weird and non-typical Batman stories, right? Because like when this started, you said Dread. I immediately thought of The Raid, right? Where Batman's going into this hostile building. He's gonna have to work his way up to the top. Oh, but how does this make it different? Oh, Scarface is now possessing the building, much like he possesses Wesker, and how that works, right? So again, not that it's necessarily supernatural, but it's definitely not a typical ventriloquist story.
No, this is a really interesting way of like updating and doing something different with that. This is a really cool idea. Like this is one of these things where, unlike that Aquaman book, like every single thing it revealed about what the premise is, I was like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is a good idea. Yeah, this is great stuff. Super into it all the way through. I think it is like just that idea of working up the building, whatever movie you want to compare it to. It's such a simple idea for an action story that it makes so much sense. But then you've got the creepy aspect to this, and the idea of the voice is coming from somewhere in the building, but you don't know where. So presumably, at the end of this arc, however many issues it is, I could see it just being 3 again.
I feel like that's what it's going to be. I feel these are going to be like three issue arcs that play out like this.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Wound Man story was perfectly paced and was the perfect length for what it was. I suspect that I'm trusting Waters to do it again here, and I love how conceptually I was into this, and just like you said, like even just talking about where the body fell from and the weird sort of like almost macabre details that were coming out about like, oh, it bounced, so it must have came from this, like above this floor. The idea that, because for a little bit I thought, oh, maybe this like crazy abusive husband character is kind of like went crazy and now he thinks he's Scarface, and that's rather than Wesker. But then when the voice kind of kept coming throughout the building, I thought, oh no, it's coming from somewhere else. So I'm expecting Wesker to be in here somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like this is his gang now.
Yeah,
right?
talking through the vents or something, and like the voice is spreading, and that's how he's influenced all these other people as well.
Right, but it also feels like when Bruce smashed Scarface, he inhabited the building. So it also gives it that creepy vibe as well, right? Where now, instead of having the, Wesker having the doll or the dummy to come through, it's going to be the entire building.
Yeah, I don't think it's literally a case of, oh, the smashing of the doll triggered something. I think it's a case of, like, he'd already done all this, and then it's just sort of, like, revealed to us that, oh, the doll was, like, the doll's almost not relevant anymore, because he's already set all this up. He's already got his new doll.
Just the building with the eyes. It's such a hilarious and also creepy image, you know?
Yeah, and to be fair, I can't think of many great Scarface stories, and this is already ranking up there for me. Yeah. So I'm excited for this. I think this is arguably the best Batman book right now.
I'm thoroughly enjoying Batman and Robin. For what it is right now.
As am I, and I'm enjoying Detective a lot.
Yes.
But I think I might like this the most right now.
Yeah. It'd be a toss-up between Batman and Robin and this, for me, for sure. But yeah, it's good all the way around. But what I like here that Waters is doing is he's telling such different stories.
Yeah.
Well,
I like that they're not, like... I think one of the things that Batman and Detective like fall into, it's the same problem the movies fall into, is that every story has to be the biggest epic thing that they can think of. And I think I really appreciate that these feel like episodes of a good TV show, where it's just a really cool concept that lasts 3 or 4 issues, and it just works, and it's well thought out with good ideas. And it's, we had a new villain in the first arc. This is a really cool way of doing an old villain with this arc. I think this is nailing something that the other Bat books, while very good in a lot of ways, in their own ways, this feels like it's doing something that feels fresh, because so many of the other ones feel like they have to do these bigger things all the time.
Yeah. So, they're just letting Waters play in his own sandbox. And I feel like that's when he's at his best. Because even like in that Arkham book, he was just kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah, but I think this is way better than that.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying is they're just leaving him alone, and he's not feeling he has to tell these big stories. He's telling the story he exactly wants to tell, and that happens to be a Scarface tower. Because then on the last page you get them all wearing those Scarface masks, pointing guns at Batman. And just the idea of this is Scarface's gang, and he has turned the tower into his own thing. Lot of fun. It kind of goes into the whole idea that Arkham was all across Gotham. So again, I feel like these are hallmarks of Waters' storytelling, and it's coming out, and let's let him play in the sandbox.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it has to be a sandbox though, because I feel like this is. It feels like another ongoing Batman book. I mean, I guess the one thing is that his outfit's a little bit more old school, so I guess technically this might be set a little bit in the past, but it really, like, there's nothing about it that feels like, oh, this has to be, like, I mean, I guess, okay, Gordon is actually serving as commissioner, so that officially says it's not in the current part of mainline DCU, but...
I thought we established that in the first issue of Dark Patterns. It's kind of like year 2. It's before. I think you're right. Robin.
Yeah, I think I've forgotten that they said that. You're right, but I'm into this. Like this has been, because I like some of that other stuff that he did, but I really think that his Nightwing and this. How like, okay, I think I'm a Dan Waters convert. I don't think I was completely buying in yet until these last 2 books, but. Consider me on board. So, and we would not even talk about Sherman's art too much as of yet. It's pretty good. Like I think that occasionally there's like a face that I don't love. Right, it does some weird things. There's one page towards the end where Gordon's kind of looking up as the civilians are doing stuff, and it's just got kind of a weird perspective to it that doesn't quite work for me. But I think where Sherman's art really works is in the sequencing and sort of the layouts, the way it kind of has the action flow, and even just simple things like Batman rushing up the stairs before he sees the Scarface dummy. It's just perfectly paced. So it's one of these things where the line work isn't completely to my taste all the time, but I think the actual sequential comic book storytelling is extremely good, and I think the coloring's very good and like builds like a solid, consistent like atmosphere throughout.
Yeah, so there's that page early on after he goes through the door and has all the writing on it, right? And just the way that Sherman draws it is completely disorienting. Like, you can't really tell which way is meant to be up. And I feel that then that adds to the chaotic vibe of Batman trying to make his way through this building with all the different sounds, and he can't tell where they're coming from because the acoustics and whatnot.
Yeah, because that page, you see all these different staircases, and you see like some small panels of like, oh, there's a girl playing with a ball somewhere, there's a mouse somewhere else, whatever. I think what I liked about this page is that obviously it set up this idea that it's this new labyrinth that he doesn't really know very well, even though it's an apartment building, it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But I think what it did, though, is it told me that this building is going to be like a main character in this book. It kind of made the building feel important by giving it this page to just say, here's the building and here's how important it is, by giving it a 2-page layout where we kind of sell the idea that it's going to be this big, feature of this, right? It made it feel like, oh, this isn't just a random location that's taking place in this issue. This is the setting that we're going to have the entire story in. It's kind of like, in like a movie, right, where you make an effort at the start of Die Hard to do just a slow shot panning up, or not panning, you don't pan up, sorry. That I always pick.
You tilt up.
You tilt up. I always pull people up for that. I feel shame for saying that. But you do the shot tilting up the building to sort of emphasize the height, or you do a shot from the distance to show it in the skyline to make it feel like, hey, this is kind of a character in the movie almost. This? I feel like that's what this page is doing. It's saying, hey, this building is like a big part of this premise, and sure enough, by the end, it's literally Scarface as the building. So, good stuff. Good stuff.
That made me laugh like a maniac when I turned that page, and the building is now complete with a cigar couch. Oh, so good. The other panel, or the other page that made me give away is right after Bruce smashes the Scarface dummy, the next page, the way that the panels are drawn, it makes a new Scarface face, right? The top 2 panels make the hat, then there's 2 round panels that make the eyes. As it goes through, the panels end up making a new face in it. And I think that's some really, really fun work here.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good stuff. Like I said, the layouts and the pacing of the scenes is really, really good. All right, what are you giving Batman Dark Patterns?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I got you a 9. Loved it. All right. Well, that actually brings us up to the final part of the show. We're only 95 minutes in, Matt. This is a shorter episode. Don't used to it, but here we are.
Yeah, not after next week. I already peaked.
Yeah, so we'll pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course top 5 books, all the usual stuff. Matt, what is your panel / moment of the week?
Let's see, Green Lantern. I did love the nth metal, giant egg reveal. That was a lot of fun. But the thing that stuck with me the most this week was an Absolute Superman, that final page of him entering Smallville, and it had the state motto on there, and how that related to everything that we just saw in the issue. That really stuck with me, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I think for me, yeah, it's a couple. I really like the closet moment in Green Lantern Corps. That stuck out to me quite a bit. There is a few moments in Absolute Superman, and then I really liked in Dark Patterns. Just there's a few moments where it really just sold me on the premise and the idea of, I could easily pick the moment of Bruce getting into the building and it just feeling so disorientating. I could easily pick the moment where we reveal the Scarface towers at the end and actually see it. But I think I'm going to go with the closet moment from Green Lantern Corps. I'm going to pick that. Okay. Something about that just felt like a good little character moment that just worked for me, and it was all just told through the art. It was really, really good. So that's good stuff. So for cover of the week, there's a few interesting ones. There's a Faria variant for Batman and Robin, which is pretty cool. With Batman and Robin, and like Robin's holding a torch, and there's like these like tentacles from like a Leviathan-esque monster coming down, which maybe is a hint of where we're going with Memento. Always possible.
He opens his trench coat and it's just a bunch of squid.
So that's possible. The main cover for Green Lantern Corps is quite funny, which is Kilowog being mad at Guy Gardner for spray painting on his painting. Which is good.
Oh, you're so funny.
Wait, whoa. I mean, yeah, it's funny.
Just no. You're because it's Guy Gardner catching hell, so of course you like it.
Yeah. There's a few good Green Lantern covers.
I really like the Kilowog "We Want You" cover.
Oh yeah,
that's a fun one.
I like the one with him and Baz as well. Just looks really cool. I'd love to say that I like the Kyle Rayner one, but I'm not keen on the super angry face that's been put on him.
Yeah.
So I won't say that. But I like the Dark Patterns main cover as well. I like the variant to Dark Patterns, which shows that it's a Scarface issue with just a very moody Batman in the background. But if I'm picking my favorite, it's probably the main Absolute Superman cover, but shout out to the Nicholas Scott variant as well, which is the sort of classic Superman in front of the Daily Planet globe type image. What are you picking?
Is that? I thought it was Action.
Oh, sorry, that's Action. No, sorry, yeah. What did I say?
You said Absolute.
I said Absolute. Sorry, yeah, sorry. Yes. That's a variant of Action. Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to bring up that one. Was the Nicholas Scott, which is why it rang that bell. I also like the Danny variant here. It's got Superman standing over or like hovering over Metropolis, but just the way that Danny does the colors with yellow, white at the bottom, casting up over Superman. It looks really cool. And then Aquaman has some that there's a Jenny Frisian mirror cover that looks really good. But my pick for the week is the Tula Lote mirror cover for
I saw the Lotte cover and thought, I've got a funny feeling that's going to get mentioned.
Yes, I just love anytime Tula Lotte can show up for a cover. I'm a big fan of it.
No, that's cool. That's cool. All right, art of the week.
This one's tough because I have Absolute Superman, right? I think Sandoval's doing some of the best work. And then Dark Patterns. You have Hayden Sherman, right? And constantly am talking about how much I love Hayden Sherman. So I feel like a fraud if I didn't pick. So it'll be Batman Dark Patterns.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I meant everything I said about Sherman's layouts and like pacing. I think it's so important to the book, so I kind of want to pick it. But I think, if I'm being honest, I like the look of the art better from Sandoval and Absolute Superman. So I'm going to pick that by a hair, but they've got very different strengths. Also, Fernandez on Batman and Robin was very good, so give that a shout out as well. So, all right, top 5 books, Matt. On you go.
All right, number 1 is going to be Absolute Superman. 2 is going to be Dark Patterns. 3 is Green Lantern Corps. 4 is Batman and Robin. And 5 is Aquaman.
All right. Number 1 for me is Dark Patterns. Number 2 is Absolute Superman. Number 3 is Green Lantern Corps. Number 4 is Action. Well, Action. And then 5 Aquaman. Wait, did I miss one? I read 6 books, didn't I? Yeah. Oh yeah, I left out Batman and Robin. Sorry, hon. Number 1 is Dark Patterns. Number 2 is Absolute Superman. Number 3 is Green Lantern Corps. Number 4 is Batman and Robin. Number 5 is Action. Okay, there we go. I was like, there's no way both of those made it. I read 6 books. All right, cool. There you go. I will tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics, everyone. We have Absolute Batman issue 6, Detective Comics 1095, Nightwing 124, The Absolute Flash issue 1, I almost said The Flash, World's Finest 37, Titans 21, Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 6, The New Gods issue 4, there's also Catwoman 74, Zatanna issue 2, The Question All Along the Watchtower issue 5, and amazingly, Superman, The Last Days of Lex Luthor issue 2, as well as Challenges of the Unknown issue 4 and DC Sonic the Hedgehog issue 1, plus some reprints and facsimiles and whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to have to reread issue 1 of Last Days of Lex Luthor because it's been like a year and a half or something like that.
Are we going to do it? Because I remember when the Batman book that there was a big gap. We didn't tackle that one.
What Batman book?
I think it was Gargoyle, right? No, not Gargoyle. Gargoyle of Gotham. Yeah,
that I think that was more of a mix of things with like a busy week and whatnot, and it getting dry. That was
this week's not busy, Pete.
It wasn't. I mean, it's not that busy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it's the 8th book. It's a pretty normal.
I have the feeling that I will not be reading The Question or Zatanna.
Oh, I wasn't going to read either of those. I wasn't counting either of those.
Yes, I know, but I'm counting for me.
I hated that first Zatanna issue. There's no way I was touching that second one.
I know, but again, I'm talking for me. So. And
you also caught up in Titans, didn't you?
I did, but I don't have to. I'm definitely. There's a Jenny Fish and Starfire cover. Hey. But if I don't read it, I can't talk about it. Oh man. So yeah. I
know. Well,
there's also a Jenny Frisch in New Gods cover. So, but that might be New Gods 5, not 4. So who knows? Oh boy, too much.
Yes. Anyway, we'll see how Absolute Flash 1 is. And obviously the books we've been enjoying, we're excited for more of, and we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if I did not make it clear last time, when we read issue 1, I will not be touching Zatanna because I did not like it. And I dropped the question already, so that's also fine, done and dusted. But yes. All right, well there you go. That is pretty much the show. You can let us know what you thought of the books this week in the comments, like, subscribe, all the usual things on YouTube if you can. And of course, if you want to support the show and all the content, you can head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, which supports all the content that gets made both here and on MailFuzz Movies and MailFuzz TV. Check out the movie podcasts over there for sci-fi, horror movie reviews, all that kind of thing. But that is us. That is the show. So yeah, a little bit brisker this week, but we'll be back with a vengeance next week. There'll probably be solicits next week as well, so look forward to that. So thank you very much for joining. We do appreciate it. But you know what? It felt so nice, Matt being like only hear via text last episode.
I can make it permanent, my guy.
That was so funny though, because after we did the show, I picked my phone back up and there was one message saying wait before I threw it, and I'm like, oh, sorry, too late. Anyway,
it was a very great comedic moment. So
yes, it was good stuff. So yes, thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
wait.